Johnny Case, first and foremost, how are you and how does it feel to have a fight booked again?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. It's nice. It's finally, the light at the end of the tunnel since over a year ago today. So to finally have a fight and to be chasing that world title again is just, I'm through the roof. I'm excited to get the season started and excited to get back doing what I love.
Super. How hard was 2024? You obviously, I believe you signed with the PFL in January 2020, memory serves.
Yeah. Man, so it's like just like anything in life, you know what I mean? You got to find the silver lining. Of course there was a lot of things that kind of set us back in 2020, but the silver lining is I was able to go back home and spend, from May to December with my family, and I haven't been able to do that since I started fighting professionally. So, that was so good for me. And just filled my heart and, made me kind of reminded me why I do this, and, it was a great year for me in those regards, and that charged me up and, allowed me the time off actually made me a lot better fighter. You know what I mean? Cause sometimes when you got fights lined up and you're kind of specializing to fight this style, fight that style, you kind of lose like that creative, feng shui, right? You feel like you got it, like it's getting jammed down your throat. This is the way, this is the tactics, this is the game plan. So when you're just having fun and training again and, life's great, then, the best fighters blossom in that kind of atmosphere. So.
Yeah. A lot of fighters who I've spoke to through this period have maybe talked about having injuries previous to all this, and then having a little bit of a layoff has helped to alleviate that. Is that the case with you at all?
I mean, yeah, for sure. So not a lot of people know this, but 2 weeks before my last fight for the RIZIN Grand Prix, I was drilling with some kid and fucking the kid was just kind of, a little careless or whatever. And I got knocked out. He kneed me right in the temple 2 weeks before the fight. And I got knocked out. Never been knocked out before. And then like 30 minutes later, I had like this pink stuff dripping out of my face. And turned out to be pretty serious stuff, like brain fluid that was like leaking out of my nose. So, and then I ended up getting finished TKO'd in that fight. So, definitely having the time off and letting my brain heal and stuff like it was definitely, a good decision in anyway, whether there would have been fights going on or not, I would have had the time off anyway for that PFL season. So, again, it goes back to the silver lining thing I was talking about, so it's better to have as much time off recovering as I've had rather than, a couple months and then right back into the PFL season 2020. So everything happens for a reason. I'm healthy, I'm fresh, and I'm ready to go.
Superb. And just briefly, I wanted to touch on something there that you just mentioned. Your last fight was in the RIZIN Grand Prix, and you will now be fighting in the PFL tournament. Is there something that you like about tournaments at all, or is that just coincidental?
It's just coincidental, man. Like I do dig the tournament style though. I mean, I grew up wrestling, I grew up in Iowa wrestling and that's when you wrestle, it's tournament style, it's brackets, it's all like that. So it's a format that I've used since I was a child. So I like that format. I like tournaments and that way it's like you have your path to victory already kind of laid out for it. You know what I mean? It's like this, and you win 4 fights and you're a world champion. So it's kind of cool. I like the tournament style.
What was the experience like of fighting in Japan? Because I believe you had 3 fights in Saitama Super Arena, if memory serves.
So UFC debut and then RIZIN debut. So I had 4 fights. at Saitama.
My mistake. Apologies.
Yeah, no worries. One was in Osaka. So 4 at Saitama. But dude, Japan is awesome. The fans are so the best fans in the world, man. Like they don't care. Like they get it. Most of like in Japan, like like most kids, I think all of kids have to do some sort of martial art. You know what I mean? At some point in their life, so they understand how incredibly freaking hard it is to fight. On top of that, but guys who like want to fight, you know what I mean? They're like, man, those are special guys. So they, fighters are really revered over there. They have a lot of respect over there, and fighting that rule set was pretty cool too. The soccer kicks and the knees to the head on the ground and stomps to the head. Like it was always, one of my one of my dreams to fight in Pride, and Pride went under, and then that didn't happen. So, I got the next best thing, and that was pretty cool too.
RIZIN in some ways is modern day Pride to a certain extent, isn't it?
It's Pride. It's Pride. So it's same, Sakakibara, he's the promoter, the announcer. It's the same show. They just changed the name.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. So at PFL 1, you will fight Loik Radzhabov. Can I ask, how much have you watched of Radzhabov, and how do you view him as a stylistic matchup for yourself?
So I watched his 2019 season run all the way to the finals, where he lost the decision to Natan. And I love the style. I've trained with this style, that basic, like that Russian pressure, heavy punching, sambo, foot sweeps, calf kicks, stuff like that. So I know the style, and I know everybody in this tournament is a talented fighter, and they're coming to fight. And I know he was the runner up, but I know how to beat this kid, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to keep doing it until I get that belt wrapped around my waist.
I'm talking a little bit about the tournament formula. Obviously, we have an idea of, is it 8 guys, isn't it? Is it 8 or is it 10?
10.
10 guys, my mistake, apologies. There's 10 guys, so there is only 9 other people you can possibly fight. Who do you view as the toughest potential opponent out of the other 9 guys in the tournament?
I think the best 3 would be me, and then Natan Schulte and Pettis, obviously. Yeah. So I think us 3, any one of us, in the perfect world, after I beat Loik, I'd like to take Natan, get that fight, beat him, and then go on to the finals and fight Pettis later. So that would be a pretty cool sweep, a pretty cool run for me, and redeem that draw that I had with Natan, get an L back, and get that gold, baby.
I did want to ask about the Natan Schulte fight, because since your fight, I believe he's gone 7-0, and obviously won the last tournament. Is that a fight that you want back, and how do you look back on that draw of 2018?
Absolutely, I want that fight back. You know what I mean? Like, now, taking nothing away from Natan. Natan's a good dude. He's a great fighter. He's world class, and he's double champ for a reason. But when I fought him, I wasn't half the fighter I am now, for one. And the first time we fought was that 2-round format. He won the first round. He kind of wrestled me up, controlled me. He had really good clinch and really good like foot sweeps and knee taps and stuff out the cage, which, like, I was like, oh man, this guy's like world class. You know what I mean? With that, the stuff that he's good at, he's really good at. But there's holes in his game. It's just nobody's been able to expose that. And getting that draw back and getting the L back is, that'll be like a little like, something I proved to myself. Like, I know I could beat him. I should have beat him that first fight. It was that 2-round format, given the 3rd round in a real fight, I think I could have beat him then. But now, now that it is all fights are 3 fights or 3-round fights, I think I take that win, man. I know I do.
The 2-round format is a little bit strange when you think about it, because how many fights do we see where somebody will win 1 round and one will win the other? We see a lot of 29-28s, and having 2 rounds makes it so much easier for it. I believe the night that you fought Schulte, I believe there was 3, if not 4 draws on the card.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So that's how that was the first year when I fought Natan, and they were still kind of working that format out, because in the United States, you can only fight 5 rounds. You can only fight 5 rounds in one night. So that's why that first fight was 2 rounds and the second fight was 3 rounds. And then the format was if it was a draw, whoever won the first round automatically advanced. And I was like, that's kind of a weak format. So what they were trying to get out of that is they wanted the guys to come out and go all out in that first round and secure that first round. But what it promoted was guys to come out and wrestle and push them on the cage and kind of eke out the first round and then kind of just run the second round. So, and when try to avoid damage and not get beat up while the other guy's trying to attack you. You know what I mean? So it was like, that's why it was so many draws. Cause one guy, once they knew they won the first round, they'd kind of take off the second round and the other guy would really try to put it on. So, but then the next year they changed that format. Instead of that 2-round scoring, where they score the rounds separate, they just score the 2 rounds together as a whole, just like they do in Japan. So that was a better format for that, I think. But now we're not even doing 2 fights in one night. So it's just going to be 1 fight a night all the way to the title. So.
And do you think that would be out of the 3 formulas they've tried? Would you say that would be the best, to just fight once in one night?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, you're going to get better fights that way. I mean, not, you know what I mean? Like, those Grand Prix are pretty neat. And they're, you know, win a Grand Prix is like, man, you're a tough son of a bitch. You know what I mean? But there's so many things that, you know what I mean? If you get the tougher matchup in the semifinals, you know what I mean? If you're fighting the guy that could arguably be the better fight in the finals, and then the other guy's got the weaker side and doesn't take any damage in that fight, but you have a war, and then now you're going into the finals and you're beat up and he's, you know, somewhat fresh. So there's some things that adhere to that format that it's like, yeah, that's not really fair. But it's like, hey man, that's warrior shit. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're out on the battlefield and, you know, you're wounded. It's like live or die. You know what I mean? So it's cool in like the warrior code, the Bushido code of it. But as a professional, like, was trying to maximize my money and minimize my damage and, you know, maximize my time. And in the sport, it's a tough format to fight.
And obviously you fought in, as we mentioned, the very first PFL season, and you're now fighting in the third. How much do you think the quality of opponents, or potential opponents, has improved between them 3 years?
I mean, tenfold. You know, I mean, every guy that's in this tournament this year, it could be a world champion. You know what I mean? On any promotion in the world, on any given night, they can fight anybody, and, you know what I mean, they have a good shot that they could be a world champion. So the first time, you know, the first tournament, there was a couple good, you know what I mean? There was like 2-3 world-class guys, and then, you know, the rest were kind of like, you know, white blue collar kind of fighters. But now everybody's top of the line professional and everybody's hungry for the title. So I'm excited for the season. No matter which matchup you get, it's going to be an exciting fight for the fans.
Speaking about exciting fights, I wanted to touch on something. Obviously, the PFL tournament formula is point-based, meaning you get more points based upon wins and finishes. And of your 27 pro wins, you have 23 stoppages. You have an 85% finish rate. Are you built for this style of formula where you get awarded for stoppage victories?
I like to think so. I think it's just my style. Like, I'm going out there and I'm trying to fucking hurt that person. You know what I mean? I'm not going out there to try to like eke out a round and just subdue the guy just enough where I can win decision. Like, I'm going out there and I'm trying to shut the machine off, whether it's a knockout or a choke. Like, I want efficient finishes. And you know, and I think that shows in my career.
Yeah, it definitely does. Let's just very briefly touch about the gym that you currently train at. So you currently train at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. How much has making the move down to Extreme improved your game? And can you give me an insight into some of the names that you regularly work with?
Sure. So honestly, like, you know, I've been to a lot of high, you know, world-class gyms. You know, the first world-class gym I went to was Alliance down in San Diego. You know, Dom Cruz, Jeremy Stevens, you know, Phil Davis, Miles Jury, you know, the list goes on and on. And then I was lucky enough to train, you know, Power MMA with Aaron Simpson, Ryan Bader, Steve Dalloway. And then finally the MMA lab, you know what I mean? And what I like the most about Extreme Couture is it's got that, like, you got your brothers, right? You have your good group of core guys that, you know, you can get good work in that keep you safe. But then you also, since Vegas is such a fight hub, you know what I mean? There's always guys coming in, Russian guys, Brazilian guys, like all these world-class guys that are just coming in, and they're coming into a new gym. So, you know, they feel like they got something to prove, you know? So you'll have your good group of guys you can get work with, but you're also like, all right, I'm going to fucking fight this motherfucker this round, you know? And I think having the both back and forth is really, really, really helped my mindset, just my tactics, just everything, you know? I've made the most improvements in my skill set at this gym than any other gym that I've ever been to. And it was during a time that wasn't so great in my personal life too. You know what I mean? So now that everything's zen in my personal life, you know, everything's good. Like, I can't wait to see my progression this year.
Superb. And as I mentioned, who are some of the names that you're working with on a day-to-day basis?
So some of my partners, like Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's finally just getting back off of double knee surgery. You know, Ty Werder, you know, he fights up for Bellator. He's a welterweight. You know, Justin James, you know, Andy Varelli. Man, there's the list goes. Julian Rosa. Man, it's a killer's den, man. Like every go you go with is tough. You know what I mean? Like there's no easy rounds. Even guys that you never probably even heard of that, 3-0, 4-0 pros that, man, these guys will fucking take some heads off. So that's what I love about the gym. It's just like every single person in that room is a killer. So, there's no weak links. And I think that's what kind of makes all the difference,
Yeah, superb. Final question, Johnny, because I do know that you are busy. Give me a prediction for your fight at PFL, the 2021 season, first fight at PFL. What goes down on the 23rd of April?
I come out, I keep the distance, peck his face off with 100 jabs, land that right hand, get the knockout. Second, third round, TKO. TKO. Got it right here. I call that out.
I want you to be more specific, Johnny. Is it the second round or the third round?
Second or third. I feel like the first round's going to be like I set the tempo, and I know he's a tough guy. I know he's going to come forward. I know he's got no quit in him. So, I'm going to start really landing my shots in the second. If I put him out in the second, that's the goal. But like I said, he's going to be hard to hit right square on that chin. So if it takes me the third round to get my measurement, then so be it. But I finished the fight, TKO, knockout.
Superb. Well, I really look forward to seeing you back in the PFL tournament. It will only be your second fight in PFL if memory serves, but I look forward to it nonetheless.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time too, Johnny. Before we finish, how can people find you on social media?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow my path, follow my career, you guys hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Hollywood Case, and then follow my fan page on Facebook, Johnny Hollywood Case.
Superb. And before we finish, is there anything you would like to say or sign off with at all?
Just thank you guys so much for being part of the journey. And, I couldn't do what I do without you guys, all your love, all your support, all your hate, everything. It's just, it gives me a platform to be able to do what I love. And I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you guys. Tune in, watch me win this world title this year. And anytime you see me fight, that it's going to be a fucking good time. So tune in, follow me, follow my trail, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Superb.